Are things finally looking up? Probably not, because we're still over 20 games below 500. But a win's a win, right? So getting straight into the game, Trae Young looks very weird in a Wizards jersey. It just doesn't look right. I don't know, I have to get used to it. So going right into the first quarter, Saddiq Bey, he started off with 6 of the Pelicans' first 8 points. And then the Pelicans let go a second chance rebound. Again, it looked like it was going to be a problem tonight. The Pelicans let Alex Sarr drive right under the rim, get a wide open layup, dunk, whatever the fuck it was. It's just the main point that he was wide open, like always. And then also more second chance rebounds, you know, they let those go. You know, I was really annoyed by Zion was shooting free throws. Zion's not the greatest free throw shooter. He needs all the help he can get. So why the fuck is Trae Young allowed to just yap the entire time while Zion is shooting? He's just talking to the ref or to Zion or who he was talking to. He kept talking. He made Zion miss. I don't know if he did make Zion miss, but it was annoying. I was like, shut the fuck up. Why is somebody telling him to shut the fuck up? And as the first quarter started going, I was like, oh, this is another game where Pelicans give up a million second chance rebounds. I mean, it wasn't that bad, I guess, but I'll get to that. And then our old grandpa came in, DeAndre Jordan, with 7 minutes left to go in the first quarter still, for Saddiq Bey, who was pretty good. He was feeling himself. And I was like, why the fuck are we taking Saddiq out right now? For DeAndre, man. Love DeAndre Jordan. Again, I've said it before. Love him. He's why for Saddiq Bey? Why? Huh? And Trae Young had a horrible pass. Just an absolutely horrible pass. And then we gave the ball right back for a wide open 3. Zion then started feeling himself a little bit. You know, I was like, maybe this is a Zion game. You know, maybe he's going to go off. The refs were looking rough to start this game, though, man. Herb got fouled. They didn't call it. Then the ball goes out of bounds. They call it off of Herb. You can see clearly in the replay, it did not touch Herb at all. I was like, okay, cool. This is going to be a referee game. Great. DeAndre Jordan, one thing about him is he's a great veteran presence. He seems like he's always talking to everybody, always getting everybody advice. It's one thing I like about him. So it's one thing I actually don't mind having him on the team for is him being that veteran presence on the floor. And then Trae Young came out of the game for the Hawks. I was about to say the Hawks. He came out of the game for the Wizards, and they just could not score without him. I'm not going to lie, I started falling asleep at the end of the first quarter, but the Wizards were winning 35-32. So now we're getting to the second quarter. Hey, the Pelicans started off this quarter with a second chance rebound of their own. And then Derek Queen had a beautiful pass to Yves Missi. Derek Queen just... And then we had a bullshit goaltending call on Yves. He had an amazing block. And then they say goaltending, and then they review it. They challenge it, they review it. And then they say, yeah, still goaltending. It was not fucking goaltending. That's what I mean with these refs, man. I was like, come on, what the fuck? And Trey Murphy was hustling his ass off to start this game. He looked like he was ready to win. And I'm like, okay, Trey, thank you. I appreciate the effort, man. And then the Wizards just started fucking up a bunch. And I was like, okay, this is looking like it might be a massacre. Who knows? Because it really felt like the Pelicans should have been leading by a lot more with the way the game was going. But they only had a 2-point lead with the Wizards messing up a ton. But then the Wizards had more turnovers. Then Herb Jones had a really nice breakaway dunk. Pel started pulling away. But then the Wizards hit back-to-back threes, gets right back into it. Made the lead look like it never happened. And Saddiq, man, he was struggling at the free throw line tonight. He was missing so many free throws like throughout the first half. It was just crazy. And I don't know if DeJounte Murray just doesn't trust his body yet, because, you know, coming off a torn Achilles is a pretty big deal. There were so many times tonight where he was driving to the goal. It looked like he was just throwing the fucking ball up. Like he was just like, oh. He just let the ball go and didn't like actually try to make it. He just throwing it up because he felt like maybe he was scared to land. And I don't know if it's like a mentality thing with DeJounte, but I know coming back from a giant like Achilles injury like that, I mean, that's a big deal, man. And it's hard to trust your body right away. The Pelicans, though, had 36 free throw attempts. 36 free throw attempts in the first half alone. They only made 27 of them because they can't make them all, but hey, whatever, because they were kind of being shit at free throws. I know it seems kind of good, but like, man, it was just like, it feels like they kept missing. But 36 free throw attempts in one half. That's kind of insane. There was a lot of fouls. There were just so many fouls. I kept like counting the amount of free throws at the end of the first half, and I was like, okay, here's how many free throws. And then more would happen. And then more would happen. And then more would happen. And I had to keep going back in my notes and then changing the amount of free throws. And then Alex Sarr, man, he was, I don't know, he was having a really weird game. His last 2 shots of the first half were just 2 air balls. You know, and I mentioned the Pelicans leading, how it felt like they should have had a bigger lead because they were like making this game look pretty easy. But they only had a 2-point lead going into halftime. So going into half, Pelicans were leading 67-65. So now we hit the third quarter. Can I be honest with y'all? I missed about the first 3 minutes of the third quarter because I fell asleep. Yeah, I was, it wasn't like this game was super boring or anything, but it wasn't crazy interesting. And I was really tired. But then I woke up and I was like, oh shit, the game's back on. And then I got back up and I was like, okay, ready to watch. And then I woke up into DeJounte Murray having a big-ass dunk, and then he has a fucking nice-ass jumper right after that. It was a great wake-up. It was a great surprise. The Wizards took a timeout right after that because he started feeling himself. And then Missi finally gets his huge block, the one they took away from him earlier. He finally gets a fucking nice one. But then the Wizards got it directly back and drained a 3 off of it. So Doesn't really matter, right? But it felt like the Pelicans, though, could not stop scoring. And then as I was writing that down, Saddiq Bey then missed, and I was like, okay, cool, just contradict me, right? And we were on a roll, but it kind of started slowing down a little bit. DeJounte Murray had a turnover. And honestly, we weren't that bad on turnovers tonight, because at this point, we only have 5 for the night, which is really good for the Pelicans. You know, I was talking about Zion, man, and it just felt like he could not be stopped. He was just driving to the rim constantly. And one thing I don't like is that he only got 8 shot attempts. I hate that with Zion. Why do we keep giving him so low of amount of attempts? He looks like he can dominate teams, and he could probably easily get 30. And yeah, I guess maybe this game didn't matter because we were winning, but it just felt like we were just holding him back and like just give Zion the ball. Let him just keep abusing it. And then the Pelicans looked like they were going to pull away again, right? But then they let another second chance rebound go into a wide open 3 for the Wizards. But then we started hovering around a 10-point lead. Kind of was like that until a little bit later. But then there was a bunch of careless mistakes from the Pels, and it made it a 3-point lead. And Derek Queen had a nice wide open 3, but he really didn't do much this night so far. But then the Wizards kept fucking up again, and then the Pels lead went to 11. Kind of a sloppy into the third. Pelicans were leading 102-93. So going into quarter number 4. So the Wizards had the ball, right? Another miss. Another second chance rebound. But then they missed this one, so things are looking up. And then this is where Derek Queen started feeling himself. You know, he's starting to like, okay, maybe the game's finally talking to him. And then Derek Queen had a beautiful pass to Trey Murphy wide open in the corner for a 3. Lead went up to 15. That was the biggest of the night so far. But then like the next possession, Trey came back down, and it was a very soft foul. The guy just kind of hit him on his shoulder. But then he started holding his arm, the same shoulder that he injured earlier in the season. And then it was scary because then he immediately left the court and then started walking towards the locker room. I really hope he's okay. And then as I was writing that down, he literally started walking right back out of the locker room. So, hey, he must be okay, hopefully. He didn't come back in the game, though, for the rest of the night, but at this point, our lead was big enough that we didn't need him anymore. And then DeAndre Jordan had a block. Old man had a block. And Saddiq was just absolutely manhandling them. He had 21 and 10 halfway through the fourth quarter. You know, one thing with Derek Queen, he has so much control over himself. No matter, like, when he has the ball, he could be falling over, and yet he still feels like he's controlling his body and he knows exactly what he's doing. And then, honestly, watching the fourth quarter, this was some of the easiest looking basketball for the Pels I've watched in a while. I was like, okay, they look like they actually can score and not be struggling all the time. And when about 4 minutes left, they started emptying the bench. The lead started getting up to like 20 points at this point. And then we almost had our Carlo highlight of the night, but he only just got into the game. It was like a lob to Carlo, but it was a pretty high one, but he had a guy covering him, so he really didn't have a chance, but I was hoping for it. Jeremiah Fears, one thing about him this game, he was having a very mixed game. I was like, it's a really good game. Also, it was like, he would make a nice drive, get an and one, drain a 3, play some decent defense, and then he would turn the ball over or make a shitty pass that put a guy in a bad spot, or he just, I don't know, he wasn't like holding on to the ball too long, or he was getting stuck in certain spots. So it was like a very mixed like game for Jeremiah. I don't know. He's like that though. I feel like all season he's been like, has amazing games, has bad games, has like mixed games. So it's a rookie season. It's to be expected. I understand it. That was just my take on his game tonight at least. And then we didn't get a Carlo highlight, but we did get a Carlo 3. So I'll take that. But the Pelicans win this one, 138-118. Nice win for the boys. So getting into scoring, Trey Murphy led the Pels with 24 points. Saddiq was second with 23, and then Zion had 20. But Zion had 20, like I said earlier, like off of 8 shots. And then for the Wizards, Trae Johnson actually led the Wizards with 20 points. And then Trae Young had 17 points, which is kind of crazy to me that they didn't use him more because he was like the only offense in the first half. He did this off of only 6 shots. 6 shots. He was 3 for 5 from 3, and he had 6 free throws. I just don't understand why they didn't use him more. I just don't get it, man. That's a pretty good night, man. Like, percentage-wise, and you didn't let him just shoot more? Maybe it was on him. I don't know. Or maybe the Wizards just didn't want to win this game, but who knows? Final thoughts. DeJounte Murray is looking more and more like he's back. Like I said earlier, he looked like he was a little bit scared driving to the rim, and that's to be expected. But there was parts of this game where he looked like he was playing some great defense. He had an insane dunk. It was honestly a really good dunk. So he looked like he's getting there. You know, he's getting there. And hey, props to the Pels for winning a game you're supposed to. Look, I know we're not a good team. The Wizards are also not a good team. We should be a better team than the Wizards, though, because they kind of changed their whole team up. And they're trying to lose. We're not trying to lose. We don't have our picks, so we should be winning this game. So hey, good job, Pelicans, for at least winning this game. And it was honestly a comfortable lead for the Pelicans for most of the game. The lead itself, points-wise, didn't always like show that. Like, it wasn't like they had a 10-point lead the whole game. But it felt like they were in control for most of the game. And then towards the end of the game, the points actually started spreading and showing like the Pelicans are dominating this game. Hopefully this starts a new win streak, you know? Hopefully. I have my doubts, but hopefully we get on a little win streak again. The Pelicans are now 21-45. What a rough season. But on to Toronto on Wednesday. Anyway, that's enough of all that. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I really appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.